It does kind of raise the question to me, though, and I'm going to look at the schedule here. How many wins does Shane get this year? Because he's got 3 so far. He won at Mexico City, he won at the Chicago Street Course, and he won at Sonoma. Indianapolis is our next race, and then we don't have very many races before the playoffs start. We've only got 5 races left. We got Indianapolis, Iowa, Watkins Glen, Richmond, and Daytona. Everybody thinks that Shane's going to have an opportunity to win at the road course, so he could win at Watkins Glen and get a 4th win in the season. Very possible. I would believe that one for sure. You got the Charlotte Roval. That's another opportunity for a 5th win. And there's really not anything else unless you count the restrictor plate racetracks, which I don't necessarily see Shane being a strong contender there, where he would have an opportunity to win a race. So I think that his win total could get as many as 5 this season.
Following is a production of The Garage Area.
All right, welcome into The Garage Area. This is the Dover post-race recap show. I'm by myself tonight, no Ryan. It's late on a Tuesday night. The race happened Sunday. I'm really behind this week, so I apologize for that. That's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. I'm not going to get too worked up about it. Denny Hamlin ends up winning the race, gets his 4th win of the season. He ended up winning at, I'm trying to think here, he won at Martinsville, Darlington, Michigan, and now at Dover. So that's, like I said, his 4th win of the year. He talked about before in the past, really looking forward to getting his 60th win. Looks like he's going to get there. And some are saying that he should be setting his sights a little higher than that even, because he appears to have plenty of gas in the tank. Kind of interesting that the information about the charters came out this week, and then Denny comes back with a win at Dover. I thought that was kind of a neat little storyline as well. I'm sure that's the last thing that NASCAR wants to see is Denny getting victories on the racetrack while they're trying to get theirs off the racetrack. We'll get into that a little bit more later. Right now, let's kind of talk about our picks. Ryan had Chase Elliott finishing 6th. Looked like he actually had quite a good day going. Was going to be in contention for the win, and as usual, the Chase Sexuals are calling for Allen's job once again because of a kind of an interesting pit call there for 2 tires. I don't know. I wasn't following Chase's situation super close, but I would think if you were going to pit, you were going to get 4 rather than 2. But hey, that's my opinion. I don't sit on a box. I sit behind a computer and behind a TV and talk about it on, supposed to be Monday, but apparently Tuesday this week. Elliott finished 6th in the race. My pick, Alex Bowman, that lousy hack, finished 3rd. There was actually a little bit of confusion. I think it actually was, I'd have to check our personal standings here. I thought it was my week to pick first, and I was going to take Chase Elliott, and Ryan said that he was going to take Elliott this week, and it was in the middle of something when we made our picks, and I wasn't 100% sure if I got the first pick or not, and I said, so just give me Alex Bowman instead, that's fine. Hate to pick a hack like Bowman, but you know, sometimes you get certain racetracks that line up, and I ended up with him at Dover. I almost took William Byron, but I had realized that I was out of William Byron picks, so I had to go with Bowman instead. And he ended up getting me a 3rd place finish. Ryan said that I ended up gaining 1 point on him this week. I still don't know if I'm winning or not. I know it's really close. I came from that huge deficit and kind of took the lead at the wrong time, and then Ryan ripped off a couple wins there with SVG at the road course tracks. So that was disappointing there. But anyways, Elliott finished 6th. Bowman finishes 3rd. Ryan said that he rates this race at a 5.5 because the clean air was still king. Whoever was leading was still the guy on top, and we saw that with Hamlin with the older tires being able to hold off those other guys. Denny Hamlin talked quite a bit about playing defense on his podcast, and we'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to give this race a 4. It's largely because of the difficulty to pass. We're going to continue to complain about the next gen car until they fix something. It's just bad. You can't run stock car racing, the premier series of stock car racing with this race car. It's terrible. Like, what are we doing? Continue to say it every week on this show, and I will, because it's just an abomination to what racing used to be. But as I said, Hamlin talked about the art of defending on his podcast. Kind of more went into that than I fully realized. I mean, I guess I kind of just assumed that, as long as you can stay in front of the second place car, that's all that really matters. But Denny on Actions Detrimental really kind of dived into that a little bit and talked about why he does what he does and why it's important to do what he does, and the way that you have to do it in order to defend. That kind of I have a little more respect for that skill than I did previously. I don't like that that's the way the car works. I don't like the fact that defending like that is possible, but I'll give a little credit to those guys that do it really well, like the Joey Logano's who do it really, really well. I don't think anybody would argue with that. One of the guys that Hamlin ended up beating was his teammate Chase Briscoe, who had the fresh tires there at the end and looked like he was going to have a good opportunity to race him really hard and probably beat him, but didn't end up happening. Briscoe raced him really hard. Hamlin said that he was trying to avoid that wet spot on the front stretch and kind of drove Briscoe down a couple times in order to get that position that he needed without trying to spin his tires through the wet racetrack. And they ended up making contact a little bit. Briscoe, I guess, said after the race that, if it wasn't a teammate, he wouldn't have raced him as clean. I don't like that. I don't have a big problem with Chase Briscoe at all, other than he's in a JGR car now. But what do you mean? Because he was a teammate, you had to race him clean? Like, if you're a clean race car driver, it shouldn't matter if it's a teammate or not. You should always be racing people that way. And Briscoe really is typically somebody that races that way, very clean. So I'm not really sure where he was going with those comments. And Denny said too that if he did what he was planning on doing, it kind of opened up his hands on the exit of the corner, that, trying to force Hamlin to lift, that he would have just stayed in the throttle, bounced off the wall, and took them both out. So he was kind of putting that out there as a PSA to other drivers, that if you try to force him into a bad spot, instead of just taking himself out, he'll make sure you go with him. So just kind of some of the interesting strategy that goes on behind the wheel. Again, don't like the fact that it's possible because of this race car, but I guess if they have to sit behind it, I'm gonna respect the guys for using their skill set to their advantage. And somebody brought up today, and I don't remember who it was. It might have been on Door Bumper Clear, that I'd kind of forgotten about this. Do you remember that Indianapolis road course race where Briscoe was leading the race and got pushed off the racetrack and came back on the racetrack, and he was under penalty and he ended up spinning out Denny Hamlin? I kind of forgot about that whole ordeal, and I think AJ Allmendinger won that race. But I don't know. That was just interesting that those guys find themselves to be teammates now after that little bit of history, and that they did end up making a little bit of contact Sunday, and Hamlin came out on top. As I said, Chase Elliott, a great day. People are calling it a career day for the 9 team. He did lead a lot of laps. Let me see how many laps Chase led. I have to scroll all the way down here to 6th place to see where he finished. He led 238 laps, which that's a ton. And this was a 400 lap race. So yeah, he led over half the race. 238 at 400 laps, that's a lot. The 9 team was really fast today, had a good opportunity to be out front, had a good opportunity to win the race, and just a kind of a confusing pit call there at the end, and it's got the Chase Sexuals all riled up. I know Ryan's not here tonight, but I can kind of give you some insight as to what he would probably think. So I'm going to ask him, Ryan, what did you think of this pit call by Alan Gustafson to just take 2 tires here at the end rather than 4, or stay out? Chase, good. Alan, bad. Thank you, Ryan. That's basically his input. That's the that's the majority of the Chase Sexuals input, I'm sure. No, actually, for being a Chase Elliott fan, Ryan actually has a little bit of sense of understanding kind of what goes into the end of the race. And I'm sure we were texting a little bit after the race, and he wasn't happy with the call, obviously, having a car that fast and not ending up getting the win, which, because qualifying was rained out, Chase ended up starting on the pole, and just because of how hard it is to pass here, I'm sure that was a significant advantage to him on the day. If he'd started back in 7th, would he have had such a dominating day? I don't know. it did seem like whoever was out in front had a huge advantage, and I'm sure that kind of fed into how good they were on Sunday, but that's just how it goes sometimes. Like I said, the hack, Alex Bowman, finished third. Historically really good at Dover. Somehow just always manages to do that. The JGR and Penske cars were not fast. The JGR and Hendrick cars were definitely fast, though. You had JGR going 1, 2, 5, 23, 11 if you count them, 7. And then you had Hendrick going 3rd, 4th, 6th. And I know that William Byron ended up wrecking out of the race. One of the guys that I do want to talk about is Shane Van Gisbergen. You know, coming off the back-to-back wins that he had. He started well because of the rained-out qualifying, and then had something break almost immediately at the start of the race on that car. Don't know exactly what it was, but they had some kind of issue. They ended up finishing 30th. I was going to ask Ryan before this weekend started that whether you would take Shane to finish over or under 25th in this race. And, you know, I honestly thought with him starting up front, he might have a good shot at finishing better than 25th. And I don't know where he would have placed if he had a fair shake at it, but I don't know. It's kind of disappointing. I feel like we didn't get our opportunity to see how does Shane respond to having the momentum, having some good track position besides, and all that without having to deal with qualifying and everything that goes on with that inside the race car. But unfortunately, we didn't get that opportunity. It does kind of raise the question to me, though, and I'm going to look at the schedule here. How many wins does Shane get this year? Because he's got 3 so far. He won at Mexico City, he won at the Chicago Street Course, and he won at Sonoma. Indianapolis is our next race, and then we don't have very many races before the playoffs start. We've only got 5 races left. We got Indianapolis, Iowa, Watkins Glen, Richmond, and Daytona. Everybody thinks that Shane's going to have an opportunity to win at the road course, so he could win at Watkins Glen and get a 4th win in the season. Very possible. I would believe that one for sure. You got the Charlotte Roval. That's another opportunity for a 5th win. And there's really not anything else unless you count the restrictor plate racetracks, which I don't necessarily see Shane being a strong contender there, where he would have an opportunity to win a race. So I think that his win total could get as many as 5 this season, but that's if everything goes perfectly. That'd be interesting for somebody to run as bad as he has on ovals. Not entirely his fault. Don't get on my case, you SVG fans. I get it. If he were potentially to get 5 wins because he's that much better than these guys at road course racetracks, it would be incredible. Just a phenomenal talent that Shane has. And again, he finished 30th this week, and we're still drooling over him because he's just that good on road courses. I mentioned it before when I was going through the race results about Penske. Ryan Blaney finished 8th, and that was kind of through some attrition there at the end. There's kind of some conversation. Is Penske really in the big 3 conversation? I don't know that they are. When they won early, Cindric, I think, won at Talladega, and Joey won at, where did Joey win? Let me see. Texas. And Blaney won at Nashville. All 3 of them guys got wins right off the bat, and it was kind of like, okay. And then you throw Josh Berry in there at Las Vegas as well. It was like, all right, are these guys gonna build some momentum here? Are they gonna win some races? Is Penske gonna be relevant sooner in the year than they typically are? And it doesn't look that way. I know that we're going to Indianapolis this week, and that's a big Roger Penske. Well, he owns the racetrack literally. I don't know that I look for the Penske cars to be strong there. I could see Blaney being good at Iowa. I could see Joey being good at Richmond coming up, and of course at Daytona, I could see all 4 of them, including Barry, being good at Daytona. But that's really it. I mean, I don't see those guys necessarily competing, as I said, at Indy. Watkins Glen. I mean, I guess those are the only other 2 racetracks in there. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like they're missing something at the moment, and I don't know what it is. But to be in the conversation with Hendrick and Gibbs, they're going to have to step up their game, because it was all about Hendrick and Gibbs this weekend, 100%. Speaking of Indianapolis, it's going to be the battle of the ties for $1 million at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's going to be Ty Dillon versus Ty Gibbs. I can guarantee you who's going to win this thing. It's going to be a tie, and they're going to have a rich grandpa. Those are the 2 things that I know for sure. It'll be a tie, and they will have a rich grandfather. I guess I've never been a Ty Dillon fan, and I'm not a Ty Gibbs fan, never will be. You'd almost have to be rooting for Ty Dillon, right? I mean, you want to see that team win the million. And it came out today via Bob Pockers, at least it did to me, that the $1 million goes to the team owner. It gets paid like purse money. And so if Ty Gibbs ends up winning it, he is going to make his grandpa even richer. If Ty Dillon ends up winning it, he's going to make Matt Collig even richer. So, and then however that's structured, that the drivers get paid from there. Don't know what their deals are like, obviously, to find out how much they would actually get out of that $1 million. But either way, I haven't really followed it super close, other than that. Ty Dillon is really the only thing I've heard about this whole bracket challenge, that he was going to be, kind of the Cinderella and keeps moving forward. Yeah, I'd like to see him win it over Ty Gibbs for sure. Kind of the only reason that I'm invested at this point. Wouldn't really care about it in any other sense, other than it's a powerhouse versus a lightweight, I guess, as we go to Indianapolis. Speaking of Richard Childress, there were some comments made on the radio after the race. Definitely on Kyle's radio. I heard it was made on Kyle and Austin's radio, that, he said, basically the crux of what he said was, guys, we need to get some better cars at the racetrack. And people are going like, Richard, don't you own the team? Isn't this your job to bring better cars to the racetrack? Yeah, you think Richard Childress has got his hands on those race cars? You hire people. And these are Lego cars. These are cars you just put together. And you just put the best parts together and try to go racing and see what you end up getting. These aren't race cars like Richard Childress Racing used to build back in the day. They're not race cars like Hendrick Motorsports used to build back in the day. You're not going to get these cars banned from the racetrack because of some clever piece of ingenuity. It's a kit car. We know that. And for whatever reason, Childress isn't doing a great job bringing fast ones to the racetrack. And Kyle Busch fans are certainly getting impatient. Austin Dillon had some good runs up there throughout the day at Dover, but largely that was due to some pit strategy and how all those things shook out. And I don't know where they ultimately finished. Let me see. Where are you at? This is taking too long. Kyle Busch finished 11th, and Austin Dillon finished 15th. So that's actually a fairly respectable day for those guys, but obviously they're looking for more out of that team. They're running out of races to the playoffs, and it looks like they're both going to miss it. Although Kyle is kind of close to that cut line, so he's down but not necessarily out. I just threw it on the list of topics because he wasn't relevant in any other way. Joey Logano made his 600th start this weekend, finished 14th, and that's really it. The only thing that I have as a memory even remotely about Joey Logano at Dover is that car flipping down the backstretch. When he still raced for Gibbs in the 20 car. How many times that thing rolled over was incredible. But yeah, that's basically all I got to say about Joey this week. I mean, he was a non-factor, 100%, as most of Team Penske was. There's going to be a baseball game at Bristol on August 2nd, the Speedway Classic against the, against the Braves and the Reds. It's going to be neat. I'll probably watch that game if I'm able to get some time to do so. It'll be interesting to see what a ballpark looks like inside of Bristol. Bristol's the only racetrack I've ever been to, and it's an awesome venue. In fact, the race that I went to, it's been said was one of the worst races at Bristol. That was the one where everybody ended up blowing tires left and right. That was Kyle's last year in the 18 car, and ended up falling out of the playoffs that night with a flat tire while he was leading at Bristol, and Chris Buescher ended up winning the race. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what it looks like to have a ballpark inside the stadium, inside Bristol, and I don't know, it's going to be interesting. We have no more Chicago street course, so we took away a huge advantage from SVG. I think they're out to get them, and they're putting a possible street course at San Diego. It sounds like that's the main rumor as to where this is all headed. And what NASCAR is shooting to do is potentially bring back Chicagoland Speedway and do the street course at San Diego. I got no problem with it. I have no affinity for Chicago and nothing against San Diego as a whole. Should be interesting. Just one more thing to clean up from the actual race at Dover. Chase Elliott won stage 1, Christopher Bell won stage 2, and Denny Hamlin obviously won the race and got the Xfinity fastest lap. Kind of there at the end. I think it was right at the end of the race with the old tires. So that just is a bigger testament to what a joke this car is. A little bit of charter news came out this week, and we haven't really talked about it because nothing is really, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of speculation, a lot of legal jargon thrown around, but nothing has really come of this lawsuit that's tangible, that you can see and touch and feel until this weekend when NASCAR won the injunction, or whatever the legal terminology is. Basically, because 2311 never signed the charters, they are no longer chartered teams. And this involves Front Row as well, but obviously everybody's eyes on 2311. Tyler Reddick, it's in his contract that he must run a chartered car or they're in breach of contract and he could go somewhere else. Tyler Reddick isn't going anywhere. Tyler Reddick is running fast cars week in and week out. He was in the Final Four last year. Where's Tyler Reddick going to get a ride unless they kick the hack Alex Bowman out of the 48 car? Relax. Ooh, the 99 car opened up. So what? The 45's faster than the 99 every single week. Everybody knows that. But those guys had to run as unchartered teams this weekend. There wasn't a 40-car field, so they made it in, no problem. How many cars did enter the race? 37. There was 37 cars in the race. So they were in no threat of missing it. But NASCAR, like a third grader that's losing the fight, making up their rules as they go along, has made a new rule this week that, what is the rule? Let me see. They made a new rule this week that basically stated that they could, now I'm drawing a blank here. I'm not going to be able to find it in time. I don't know. My mind just went blank when I was talking about that. Look up Bob Hawkins' tweet if you want to know about it. It was definitely a shot shot at the unchartered teams, basically saying that they could make sure that they didn't race if they didn't want them to. Wow, I have the note that just says charters here, and I should have put more information in there so I didn't lose my train of thought. But yeah, it's just a big, who's the bigger man contest here between NASCAR and basically Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. That's really what this comes down to. And you can throw Bob Jenkins in there as well, but it's, that's what this is really about, is Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan against NASCAR. And dude, I hope they win. I mean, the direction that this sport is going under the leadership of Jim France is just pathetic, and everybody hates to see it. Nobody's enjoying this. Anybody that's enjoying NASCAR right now is because they like the driver that's winning. Like, Denny Hamlin fans probably don't have a big issue with what the on-track product is right now because Denny's winning. Shane Van Gisbergen fans, they don't have a big problem with the on-track product because Shane's winning. And same thing with Kyle Larson fans probably aren't thrilled at the moment, which Kyle had kind of lost his mojo since Memorial Day weekend, but has retained it here after Dover. And there were kind of some oddball races in between now and then. But yeah, he's definitely got the momentum back, and they're going to Indy where he won last year, so I can see Larson kind of getting that momentum back as well. But as a whole, like, nobody enjoys this point system. Nobody enjoys this race car. Nobody enjoys necessarily the order of which we're going to these racetracks, and even some of the tracks themselves. And it's so frustrating. I hope these guys win this lawsuit and actually see some real changes, give the teams more money, and don't have to do everything that they're saying to cut costs, and we can actually start building some real race cars again, putting some actual horsepower back in it. That's just my hope. That's my goal. That's what I want to see happen. That's all you're getting out of me for a rant this week. Connor Zilich won the Xfinity Series race. There was no Truck Series race. Next week, as I said, we're going to Indianapolis for Cup and Xfinity, and the trucks are going to be at Indianapolis Raceway Park. That ought to be an interesting race. But yeah, that's really all I've got from the Dover weekend. Wish I did a better job explaining that rule change. I'm gonna get off of here and look it up and be like, yeah, you're so dumb for not knowing that off the top of your head. But that's just how it goes sometimes. When you record late at night and you're just trying to get a podcast out, that's sometimes the result. Don't forget to follow us on our social medias. We got to get this straightened out. I looked these up tonight. I've made the list, but we've got to get them cleaned up a little bit because we got different names for every platform, and that's my fault. On X, it's at Garage Area. Instagram, it's at The Garage Area. If you're on there checking out Carson Elledge's pictures that she's posting, just swing on over to the Garage Area as well and check out our content. And TikTok is the.garage.area. Wild that those aren't all the same. I'm pretty sure if you just search Garage Area, we'd come up, but we'll try to get that straightened out in the near future. Our social content isn't anything that's, to write home about, I guess. I don't know. But I do think that our pre-race picks are pretty interesting because we've hit a lot of winners this year, and it looked like Ryan was going to hit one again with Chase Elliott. Speaking of which, don't forget to follow us individually on X. Ryan is at RyanWW924, of course, and I am Adam White _22. Again, that's Adam White _22. So if you want to hear our smart aleck comments and the things that we tweet back and forth, go ahead and check those out, and check out our podcast social handle as well. And that's all I got. I guess we'll see you after Indy.